2 of the Oceanic Collegiate Championship. We are in the New Zealand qualifiers. We did just have one of the round 1 matches casted, and it was Imperium taking out VGN Giga. However, now we've got another match from the winners bracket. We are now into round 2, so both of these teams have taken out a win so far. It's going to be HKC from Victorian University going up against the University of Auckland Hawks, who did take out number 1 in University of Auckland. So they are looking to be the favourites in this tournament so far. So it's going to be quite a rough match for HKC to take out, but I believe in them. If they can probably put up a pretty good fight, if not take out the win so far. So let's get straight into these picks and bans. My name is Smite, and I am casting with Kibbles today. Say hello.
Hello, everybody.
Alrighty, so let's have a look at these bans. As you can see, Zed, Morgana, and Nidalee, all pretty similar looking champions, and I think they are, at least Nidalee, possibly going to be targeted at Bill. I have seen that guy play Nidalee a few times, and do not want to allow him to grab that. And Zed and Morgana, you know, Morgana, kind of a flex pick, could be aimed at the mid lane, but Zed definitely going to be there, so bans kind of all over the place there for HKC, so they're not targeting anyone in particular, but they are target bans nonetheless. No standard bans coming out. Whereas on the Hawks side, you can already see 2 junglers are banned out, so targeting bans at that role. However, taking LeBlanc away just because I imagine it's going to be a pretty strong pick up for Jonty Wanty. But first pick, going to be Gragas.
Yeah, the Urgot was hovered over for such a long time, and I just looked up to my screen and saw it, and I thought, hang on, Urgot? But no,
it's a thing now, apparently. If you've been following the competitive scene, no, Urgot is a thing. Quite a few players have picked it up, both in the AD carry role and in the mid lane. It can actually shut down a few champions in some places, but it's definitely not going to be first pick material. However, Gragas, definitely a great champion to pick up straight away. Throw that guy in the jungle, and he can bring out a lot of control to the game. As well as, you know, a fair amount of damage earlier on. You know, great ganker before level 6 and excellent ganker after level 6. So it's not working. Has a great pickup there to replace Sejuani and Vi. Interestingly, no bans on Hecarim so far, so if either top laner can play that champion, they're likely going to want to pick him up. But another few lock-ins, and it's going to be both Sion and Dr. Mundo. That is a disgustingly tanky lineup so far.
I've recently picked up Mundo myself, and my gosh, is he incredibly fun to play. He provides so much. He brings so much power, raw power to the top lane, and I'm not talking physical damage. Like, there's a specific kind of raw power when you bring the amount of sustain that Mundo can bring.
Absolutely. It's gonna, you know, keep the damage a little bit low for the Hawks over there, but like I said in the last game, you know, the meta has evolved a little bit to basically encompass very extended fights. You know, these fights are lasting a very long time just because there are so many tanks on each side. And in the last game, you know, I called a game that had, 3 or 4 tanks, tank light, whereas already right now, 5 champions about to be locked in, and they're all pretty much tanks. And like I said earlier, that Hecarim going to be picked up over for HKC, a great top laning champion right now, and can definitely go toe-to-toe against Sion, whether he goes for that smite in the top lane just to pick up the Cinderhulk as well, just because it is such a great you know, a great boost to all the tanks that are coming out so far. If you're able to pick up Cinderhulk, the 20% more HP just makes you pretty much immortal. And once again, in a game full of tanks, it's going to be even longer to take you down. So we could see him picking up the smite build, but we'll have to find out later on. And Hawks going to be reacting to these picks. I'm going to find out how that comes out. Ahri being hovered over.
I'm not so sure about the Ahri pick. I like Ahri as a champion, yeah, but to me it feels too anti what the HKC team are trying to bring to the table here. But in fact, it is actually Lucian and Braum, a strong bot lane.
And I do like the Lucian pickup as well, because while not the heaviest damage dealer for the marksman role, is able to move in and out of the fight. And while Hecarim's likely going to be built fairly tanky, if the Hawks were to pick, say, Cogmore or Vayne or even Caitlyn, someone who can shred down tanks, safely. Hecarim is one of the champions that can just absolutely dive them completely on the backline, and Lucian's going to be one of the few marksmen who can at least deal with it. He's got the mobility to get on out of there, and with three of his teammates are complete full-on tanks. Hopefully, he'll have some protection against that diving party pony back into the backline. But the pickups coming out from HKC going to be Callista and Azir. So some very heavy late-game damage dealers ready to shred down some tanks.
I'm excited to see this Azir pick. I really am. I haven't seen an Azir properly played in high level per se. I have seen it a couple of times, but not enough for me to be like, yeah, no, he's a strong pick. What do you think they're trying to prove here with Azir?
Well, Azir, I mean, like I said, a late game shredding damage dealer. In fact, basically an AD carry for, magic damage that you can put in the mid lanes, and does it fairly safely as well. It also brings the Emperor's Divider's ultimate, brings a lot of utility to the table. It can block out a lot of Lucian's mobility if it's placed in the right place. Ahri can't dash over it. It's going to completely block out Sion and his ultimate, and it basically ruins a lot of the tools that come out from the Hawks right now. So I really like the Azir pickup, but at the same time, his early game can get pretty rough right now. Ever since the range nerf to his Sand Soldiers, I feel like Ahri can kind of walk all over him earlier on. So it's going to be all about how well he can survive that early game, and if they can make it to the late game, then HKC look like they've got a very nice tank shredding composition, because there's also that Callista who is incredibly mobile. I'm talking about Lucian before, how he's such a great mobile champion. Callista is just, the definition of a mobile AD carry. So, going to be able to move in and out of the fight, going to be very hard to catch, as long as he can dodge those charms that are coming out from 3IM on that Ahri, I think he's going to be pretty fine.
I think he will. I really like Blue Team's pick here. The team composition, rather. They have such amazing mobility, like just incredible. Callista, not so much Thresh, but Callista can bring that to the table for Thresh using her Soulbound. I'm gonna really have my work cut out for me when team fights erupt, especially with all their mobility.
And one thing to mention is, ever since Cinderhawk came out, it did bring tanks onto the table, but one of the big weaknesses of a lot of tank junglers is still there, and that's their early jungle clear. Gragas is a champion that, traditionally he's been able to handle it fairly well, has a lot of AoE, a lot of sustain, so we'll be able to survive in that early jungle. However, Dr. Mundo is a champion that we haven't seen in the jungle too often, but it's a comfort pick for Bill. But like I said, that weakness is still going to be there, and Dr. Mundo does have a very weak early jungle. He does drop incredibly low, and so I feel like HKC, they do have the opportunity to invade, start ruining his jungle a little bit, maybe even go for a lane swap, so they have the ability to have their support roam around a little bit. Have Sykes come in for a little bit of a roam, move in with it's not working into the enemy jungle, and deny Bill any farm, because as you can see, late game tanks, once they get going, are pretty terrifying. Dr. Mundo is one of those sorts of tanks, but there's not a lot of gold in the jungle. And if you can deny even more in the jungle by ruining that early game clear, it not only delays the late game for Mundo, but it also makes your lanes a lot more comfortable. You've got Duke and Jonty on those late game shredding champions. If they've got a nice early late game, free of jungle pressure, that's going to be just of much value to HKC. So the tools are definitely there for them to go for an early-ish invade to deny Bill any kind of late game scaling.
Matchup versus matchup, who are you giving the lanes to?
Definitely in the mid lane, it's got to go over to 3IM, just because Azir's early game just got nuked pretty much ever since the range nerf to his Sand Soldiers, but he's still got the late game potential. So as long as he can survive the early game, that's all it's going to be about. It's not going to be about winning the lane. It's going to be about surviving it. And if he can, preventing any roams from 3 a.m. because an Ari that roams around the map is just terrifying. And at the same time, they're not just relying on Jonty Wanty to get to the late game. They need Duke to get to the late game Kalista stage. And so if he's constantly having an Ari roam down to the bottom lane and ruining his day, that's an AD carry that they're not making to the late game. So he doesn't have to only survive the early game, he needs to prevent roaming as best he can. And we may see a little bit of, I'd say jungle pressure, but it's more like jungle babysitting, making sure that Jonty Wanty is going to be A-okay in that mid lane.
I'm curious to see Kalista and Thresh. It's not a matchup that I've seen in my own personal games. Who are you giving that lane to, the bot lane? I prefer looking at bot lane as the win or lose lane. If your bot lane loses, yeah, you're probably going to be pretty weak. So who are you giving that lane down to?
Well, Lucian is typically a champion that's great at bullying other marksmen out of the lane. It's also going to be all about whether we actually see a 2v2 lane, because like I said, the idea of a lane swap is definitely on the table. But if we do see a standard 2v2 matchup, I'd have to give it over to the Hawks, just because Lucian Brown, such a standardly strong lane, they synergize so well, and the fact that, Lucian, like I said, he bullies out other marksmen, is able to deal with them really, really well, so I feel like, once again, it's the same story, though. If Duke and Sykes can just survive the lane, get Duke to the late game, then they're going to be okay. It's going to be all on Corrupted Hero to dominate the lane, essentially.
We are heading straight into game now. And, whoa, hang on. Is that a pause?
Yeah, well, I mean, it wouldn't be a New Zealand tournament if we didn't have a pause in the game, would it? Apparently someone bug splattered, so... Apparently someone also just went to the toilet, so it's not going to be too long, guys. They'll be loading right back in. Interesting to note is that Master Goat's going for the Smite build on Sion up in the top lane, whereas Plastic going to opt for that Ignite. So it's going to give him a much stronger early game on that Hecarim, but he really needs to take advantage of it, because a Sion that picks up Cinderhulk in the late game, you need to shut down early, so he's not able to, A, get enough gold to buy the health items, but B, also not stack up that Soul Furnace passive, because Sion's a champion that already gets immortal. Adding 20% extra health on top of that is going to be terrifying. But we are straight into the match, and I didn't get to do this in the last game because, of course, fully dropped out. Thanks, Spark. Thanks, Obama. But it's the early game right now, and it's going to be all about whether they get vision in the enemy jungle, they can know what's going on, especially if lane swaps are going to be on the table. But you can see different strategies from both teams. HKC going for a spread out, so no shenanigans are going to happen to them, at least without them knowing. But there's only one thing on the Hawks' mind, and that's a 5-man invade, whether it's to get that ward down on the bottom lane so they can see if there's going to be a lane swap, or if it's just if they're looking for a cheesy kill, which they I don't know, judging from where they are right now, they may get to the Tribush before Sykes is able to get in there. So maybe they will get a cheesy kill, but potentially, as long as he throws a ward in there nice and safely, there shouldn't be any kills earlier on.
Scary, yeah. It's looking really scary for Thresh. He isn't aware of what's going on, obviously Sykes. It's moments like this where you just wish you could say, Thresh, don't go there. But
I don't know. I like seeing cheesy kills at the start. I kind of hope he does walk in there after all 5 of them are there, because it's also going to get them a nice early kill. They've got good pick potential as long as some of them are holding on to some of their skills. But at the same time, Brown, he hits that Winter's Bite, and a few more auto attacks connect, and with 5 people, that's not hard to do. They may be even able to get a kill before he can even flash. At the same time, though, I feel like Sykes, if he does get into trouble in any other kind of way, should be able to flash out to safety.
Sykes hasn't picked up his first ability yet, so if he does get into trouble, and that's a really safe play, if he does get into trouble, he may have that flay that he can pick first.
Well, they are going to get there first, and interestingly as well, Duke doesn't spot them, but Sykes, again, pooing his pants, is going to try and get out of there. Did get there first, so both teams get wards down. No early cheesy kills coming out from the Hawks, but all they got out of that was a Tribush Ward. So they're going to need to brute force their way in if they want any more deeper vision, because they're completely opening the map. Oh, Sykes has actually forced the flash, worried about those auto attacks stacking up, cause the stun. But yeah, what this allowed Plastic to do is walk up there, get a nice ward deep in the enemy jungle, can see any of the movements moving around, and the Hawks didn't really get a lot from that. I mean, they got the flash from Sykes, so we might see a little bit of jungle attention down there, but other than that, nothing too huge.
It's really powerful that Hecarim's managed to get a ward that deep, but it's not really going to show him much information from what's going on. But we can see that Thresh has actually been soulbound by Kalista. I did kind of predict that. They are going for that, obviously, high mobility. Thresh doesn't really have that, so it's fairly reasonable.
Fairly standard to soul link with your support. And now this is a great play by Plastic right here. Knew that Sion was going to go for that early Razorbeak's cheese with his passive, and takes out the kill. And at the same time, it may have been able to turn around and take the Raptors, but no, that passive from Sion's going to allow him to... Oh, he's actually almost... He does take out the camp anyway, so, I mean, gives a kill over to Hecarim. Wastes a bit of his time.
But stunned down here in the bot lane, taking quite a bit of damage actually. Sorry about that, but yeah, I don't like that play from Sion. He seemed to be perhaps watching a lane or something. He just stood there taking out the chickens. Well,
no, that's okay. So if you haven't been around the scene for a while, it's pretty standard for Sion to do that. You take out the chickens, you get executed. Sykes should be fine. You get executed, and then you're able to take out the chickens and teleport straight up to top lane with a nice level advantage. However, Plastic was right onto that strategy, and all he needs to do is attack him once, and you ruin that strategy. But I was able to straight out kill him, and unfortunately, you know, Master Goat, he managed to get the camp anyway, teleport back up, and Plastic lost a fair amount of farm anyway. So, you know, apart from the kill, it wasn't as bad as it could have been for Master Goat. So, see how he handles that top lane.
This is exciting. Gragas is moving in. We do see a really early gank. Oh, flash burn from Braum. That's going to prove very interesting for how the lane is going to develop there.
And of course, you know, Bill and Dr. Mundo can't really do any kind of ganks right now because, like we said in Champion Select, Dr. Mundo drops pretty low during that first clear, so he's not going to be able to apply any pressure, especially not in that bottom lane, just because, you know, we thought Sykes, he might be a bit of a target, but... it's going to have to be a little bit later on, but you can already see Bill heading straight to that top lane, assuming that Plastic isn't going to have a ward. But as a Hecarim, you know, you've got plenty of escape potential. Even if Bill's able to connect one cleaver, the devastating charge is still probably going to be enough escape to get out of there. So I don't really see any kill potential up there.
Do you know if Sion's trinket bug is still active?
Well, I don't even know what that is, so I don't think that it's going to be active at all. But we do see Bill coming into the top lane, and we're going to see if, you know, Plastic's devastating charge, is it going to be enough?
Oh, wow, Plastic's being dropped down very low here, but he does... Oh, the cleaver slows him down. Sorry, Pony, but you're not getting away here.
Yeah, and that's one of the disadvantages of taking Ignite rather than Flash on the Hecarim up in the top lane, because generally you don't need the Flash to escape as a Hecarim, but being that overextended, you're going to get punished for it. So Bill actually picking up a nice early kill, going to relieve some of that early pressure that Dr. Mundo does have, but it's not working in a great position here.
Oh, Bill getting caught out majorly here. A Flash has to be burnt for him to get away from there.
Oh, and actually, if you look at that mid lane, Jonty doing pretty well. You know, I predicted it wasn't going to go very well for him with that early game nerf to Azir quite a while ago, but keeping ahead in CS, does have to recall due to dropping completely but other than that, doing very, very well. You know, holding up, and it's going to be the tools that HKC actually need to bring it to the late game that Azir and Kalista both need to start shredding down these tanks, because until then, they're not going to be getting through them. They're not going to be able to get to that backline and deal with it. And Azir, interestingly, going for that Forbidden Idol just to go for that mana regen rather than going for a Fiendish Codex or anything like that.
Kalista has such an interesting mechanic too. I feel it brings so much to the table when it comes to a lane like this. I'm not sure if you saw it before, but Kalista actually dodged Lucian's piercing light by auto-attacking and jumping out the way. That was so incredibly timed.
Yeah, and it's gonna affect not only the piercing light, but every ability on in the game right now. It's gonna be very hard to actually catch Duke to really take him out. But like I said, Kalista needs to get to that late game before he can actually start pumping up the damage. So while he's gonna be nice and mobile, doesn't actually have the damage he needs right now. But as you can see, HKC getting a nice lead on the CS early game. The top lane falling behind just a little bit ever since that first gank up there, but gold lead is going to be slightly in favor of HKC, so they're going to be pretty happy with that, considering they are the team that wants to make it to the late game first.
Not seeing a hell of a lot going on in this early game. Lots of damage from Azir, lots of poking, lots of just general skirmishing. Bill is actually coming in from the side here. Bill, of course, being on Mundo. Unfortunately, John T. has too much mobility. He's almost one of those ungankable champions.
Yeah, and Dr. Mundo, not the greatest ganker, especially in the short mid lane. A hook does catch Braum on the bottom lane, but not much is going to come from that. And you see Plastic, he's trying to farm up in the top lane, but he's not getting that early game advantage that he absolutely needs to get. Yes, he got the first blood, but that was more of a cheesy kill. It was very smart and good that he got it, but not really much to do with his laning prowess, and the fact that he does need to get ahead to stop the Scion, because once Scion is able to pick up the Cinderhulk item, although he's not actually going for it very early, instead going for that gold efficient armor item, the Glacial Shroud, so still keeping himself immortal for Plastic.
Plastic's doing a lot of damage here. Ulti coming out, but Plastic will just run away.
So, still no kills, but keeping...
Did I say Plastic ulted? Sorry, I meant Scion.
Yes, that was Scion that used that unstoppable onslaught up there. But as you can see, dominance up in the top lane by Master Goat. He's keeping things completely under control. He's going to be the one that scales into the late game for the Hawks there. So they don't have zero late game of their own. They're definitely going to be able to hold up to HKC and their tank shredding abilities. It's going to be all about whether they can actually catch John T. and Duke. And if there's going to be any kind of champion that can catch them, it's going to be Scion who's able to engage pretty hard, and I'd like to see a Righteous Glory picked up by at least someone on the Hawks, because they do need to actually catch the enemy team. Plastic actually opting to hang around for a while, and that may have been a bit of a bad choice here, as we see also 3IM is coming up.
Oh, Ari might catch this if she's lucky. The charm coming out but missing. Of course, the ult from both, and ta-da! There comes the kill for Ari. Well done.
So as you can see, things starting to slip out of control in the top lane. I say starting, it's never really been in control ever since that Mundo gank. But interestingly enough, they are paying attention completely to that Hecarim, keeping him down, keeping him locked down. Nice dodge there from the death sentence. But importantly is the fact that John T. and Duke are being left completely alone. They're holding their CS lead. They know that they're not really being targeted, and even if they were, Dr. Mundo's not the greatest ganking champion, so both of them are basically able to push into the enemy turret as much as they want, hold control of the lane, and not really worry about it too much. They do have to keep in mind, though, Master does have teleport, and also the unstoppable onslaught. Oh no, Corrupted Hero getting caught, but is able to dash away. Nothing's really going to come from that.
Yeah, he's been dropped pretty low, though. This is going to be a bit devastating for him to come back from. He only has a Doran. Both summoners on both Braum and Lucian are still up, so they should be okay.
Yeah, it's going to be very hard to actually catch those guys in the bottom lane, especially now that level 6 is around. You try and go for Duke. He gets landed into safety. You try and go for Sykes. He gets Fates called out, and we're about to see an example of that here.
Sykes actually getting pulled away from that ultimate. Oh my goodness, lots of stuff happening down here. Duke is going to get caught out. Maybe? No, because the heal's coming out. Sykes being dropped very, very low. Bill is... there we go. And Ari coming in from the side? What is this game? They won't... No, they won't.
And the fight is finally over, and I feel like that was a little bit of overconfidence there by HKC there. They had the escape opportunity because your Fates call Thresh, and then he throws himself backwards, throws out the lantern, that gets you both out. Instead, they wanted to go for a surprise teleport play, and while it looked like it might have worked out, it wasn't an ultimate for Plastic. They had more members on Hawks coming down. It just wasn't the best choice down there, and probably going for the escape rather than the greedy play would have been better there, because like I said earlier on in Champions League, all they need to do is get those lanes to play safe. They don't need to necessarily win lane, they just need to survive lane, and they've been doing that so far. So I'm not sure on the taking risks idea that they went for, but it does in the end go in favor over to the Hawks. But Dragon attempt here, and there's going to be no vision on it, so with the attention being paid to mid lane, I feel like it's going to be a free Dragon.
This will be free. And nobody really knew except for Bill just now, and he's going to get caught out. Ultimate pop from Bill. He might survive from that sustain here. Nah. I was expecting a flash of a Dragon Pit.
Not going to survive. His flash also down, so a nice pickup by HKC, and the fact that they were able to clear out the vision. They knew that some attention was being paid to the mid lane. They were able to just move in, rotate, and take it out very, very easily. Now leaving Duke alone in the bottom lane. That's going to not allow him to get a nice farm lead. Oh no, it's not working. Get out to safety.
Well done. He actually grabbed the lantern. Oh my god! Wow!
3-1M, 31M, 3IM, Ari is able to take out the Gragas, ruin the party. He was feeling so good about himself too, getting nice and safe underneath that turret. Sykes feeling pretty good, like, yeah, I'm helping out my buddy. In the end, doesn't really work out. They did waste the Spirit Rush for 31M, so I guess they can take some solace in that. But once again, that top lane, oh, maybe not, maybe Master Goat.
No. That was a well done play, though, from both. Some nice dueling happening down here between Duke and Corrupted Hero. The ultimate coming out from Lucian. Both dropped incredibly low, and Lucian will take it.
And he had his teammates nearby anyway.
Yeah, KAYCEE would have got picked up.
Yeah, so Hawks taking a pretty decent early lead, and that was kind of expected to happen due to their early game laners, but didn't quite happen in the way we thought it might, However, we see Bill going for a bit of a contest on that red buff, but it's not working. Gonna get out to safety. Once again.
Whee!
No Ari to ruin the party.
Yeah. Oh well.
Oh, they may be caught out here.
Azir using his ultimate here to block them off from escaping. Bill is going to be dropped very, very low. Ignite being dropped down on him so that he can... Whoa! Missed by the skin of his nose. Sorry, Sykes, but you won't catch him today.
Gotta talk about that Empress Divide, though. That was just absolutely brilliant. Completely blocking off their path of escape. And forcing out a flash and also catching out a kill. So, Jonty Wanty really on top of things this game. And you can see, though, the mid lane and the AD carries have evened up the farm now, but, considering they were champions that were meant to win the lanes, it's good that they've evened it up, but they still need to go even further and start winning things a little bit harder. But, moving later on into the game, we're almost 15 minutes in, and then laning phase is going to start ending pretty soon. So it's going to be pretty hard for them to, assert their dominance. Lucian's a champion that does do very well in the mid-game team fights, just with the mobility, the excellent ultimate that's available, and the fact that he's paired up with Braum. It'd be really easy to actually activate those concussive blow stacks, so I feel like Hawks should be looking for some early game team fights, especially around the Dragon once it does come back up, but at the same time they do need to start shutting down Duke a little bit more. Oh, look at the damage!
Death sentence, just missing, of course, the... Whoa! There's the combo you were talking about. The nice...
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that was really good. Just, quickly, because I'm curious. Can the enemy team see the link between Kallista's soulbound and her soul-bounded person?
Well, yes, but it depends. Like, if you don't have vision of the soul-bounded person, then you won't see it, right? So it's not going to give away any information that you don't have. And you can see Hawks are getting quite a lot of power in the enemy jungle right now. As you can see, Master Goat catching the attention of 2 members of HKC, and in fact 3, but he's got backup coming along, and look at how tanky that guy is now that he's picked up Cinderhold. The smite does come out, but the fight's begun.
Ultimate coming out, Ari charming Azir over here, both ignited. Gragas will fall as will Azir. Lucian jumping over the wall, a death sentence missing by his soccer boots. My word, that was incredible. So 2 for 0.
Yeah, and still excellent pickup, you know, bringing the attention over to the mid lane. And HKC, without the vision to see, in fact, no, they did have a pink ward, so they should have seen that the reinforcements were coming. Cupcake Man, though, in trouble.
Death sentence being called. Oh, wow, okay. Sykes will have to flash away from... sorry about that. Sykes will have to flash away from Ardent Blaze from Lucian. Charm coming out from 3am. Unfortunately, turret falling.
Yeah, and now you can see Hawks, they've got so much map pressure. 3 turrets compared to the 0 taken by HKC. What this means is that Hawks can walk into the enemy jungle a lot less impeded. They can move in and around the map, get the vision down, and that's going to be very important if they can do it before this next dragon spawns. They got 40 seconds. You can already see, you know, the wards around both entrances to the bot side river for HKC, so Hawks have got a great opportunity to move into this next dragon. They've got to take it fairly carefully because there are a few ultimates on the side of HKC that can ruin the team fights coming out from Hawks. Just, you know, the devastating charge, the Onslaught of Shadows, the Emperor's Divide, the Explosive Barrel. So many things can go wrong in a team fight if any of those ultimates go very well for HKC, and HKC know that for a fact, so they know they've got the potential to contest this dragon, but they need to keep vision control and make sure that, you know, vision dominance isn't just given over to Hawks. However, Lucian in so much trouble here.
Corrupted hero, why are you sitting there? A teleport coming down, 2 teleports coming down, but oh no, they aren't cancelled, so Sykes is going to get hit by Unstoppable Onslaught, and Hecarim is trying to push away 3am and Mondo away from the fight. Unfortunately, it's not going to do much because they're just going to come straight back in. Azir's ultimate coming out to push everyone away. They're trying to disengage this, and Jonty Wanty is in a lot of trouble. That's some bad positioning from the chicken right there.
I don't know, I kind of like the play by Jonty Wanty there because he moved in, got a 1-for-1. At the same time, it took the attention of the guys chasing his teammates. So in the end, it does end up being a 3-for-2. Importantly, it's going to give the Hawks a dragon to even things up, but it could have gone quite a lot worse for the HKC there. Dragon's nice and even, and this is giving the Hawks a very solid lead as, oh, Cupcake Man, that's just rude.
I think that's freaking awesome, and that's totally something I would do.
Yeah, not gonna lie, I'm gonna do it too. That's another thing, you know, you're playing on a tournament that's on a stream. Sometimes you want to show off a little bit, and that can lead to greedy plays and potentially very risky plays. You want to do something really cool, show off to the stream, and then it doesn't work out because it was a risky play. But at the same time, these guys know what's on the line. They do need to start winning the game, and we've already seen that, you know, while Hawks are, you know, in a nice solid lead right now, and things have been pretty even up until this point, and the fact that there is still the late game potential by HKC, the fact that, you know, they can't go for those risky plays. So I feel like while you want to show off to the stream, they're still going to play pretty seriously.
Master Goat on Sion in this top lane, he's just dominated over Hecarim, which is something that I find interesting. It probably all started from those chickens that were at the start of the game, but, you know.
And I like the Frozen Heart pickup as well, because while it's a pretty common pickup to take on Sion, the fact that it also reduces the attack speed from Jonty Wanty, it's going to give him more survivability against that champion. However, never mind. See you, nerds, as he gets on right out of there. Never going to get caught on that champion. Pretty much the same thing as Hecarim, having a very good devastating charge to get out of a bad spot there. But nothing's going to come of it.
So Sion's bug that I was briefly mentioned before was if you press R and you start your ultimate, obviously it's very difficult to turn while you're moving. But if you were to tap 4, then the key 4, which is your trinket, and point any direction, then Sion would turn to that point that your mouse cursor is.
I don't think that's in the game anymore. I haven't seen it in a long time, so I don't think it's actually in the game. So let's talk about these items. So I've got a bit of a lull in the game here. You can see that it's not working. He's moving towards that righteous glory, which is going to be pretty important for HKC to pick up, because not only do they need to later on get very good fights going, and it's going to be all about their engages with, like I said, all those important ultimates, but at the same time, because they need to survive until the later game, they need to be able to disengage team fights, and Righteous Glory can do exactly that.
Very tanky on both sides, as you've already predicted. We see a Mog's Armor coming out, Frozen Heart, some Warden's Mount, lots of tanky builds here. Is that a threat?
It's a threat to, I'd say, Hawks if they can't make it to the late, if they can't finish it out earlier on or take a massive advantage, even bigger than what they've currently got, because basically what it means is Duke is going to be able to start shredding people. He's already got the Blade of the Ruined King, and looks like moving into a Phantom Dancer next, actually. So really going to be proccing that health, the percentage health damage, as much as you possibly can on that champion, and that's going to be massive against Dr. Mundo. It's going to be pretty massive against Sion, and despite having so much armor on Sion and armor eventually going to be built onto Bill, it's still going to be enough, especially once Last Whisper is going to be picked up for Callista, if he can fit it into his build, of course. But I feel like, yeah, like I said, it's going to be a worry for Hawks if they can't get a massive early advantage and HKC make it to the late game.
Top lane turning into a 2v2 from what was Master Goat versus Plastic. They're now joined by Mundo and Gragas, who will quite calmly and passively walk away from that. They don't really need to be there.
Yeah, oh no, Cupcake Man.
Cupcake Man. That's such a cool name to say as well. Cupcake Man. It makes you sound so disappointed.
Yeah, well, nothing to be disappointed there, as he does get out nice and safely.
You can see this pressure coming from Corrupted Hero. Lucian is a champion who I would say is really a strong sieger. So if they leave him alone in that bot lane for too long, that turret's dead.
Oh wow! Oh wow!
Oh, I missed that. Oh goodness. But
okay.
The chicken has fallen.
Essentially, it was a surprise jump onto the chicken, like you said. He did end up dying, but it was an Emperor's Divide very closely. Oh, Corrupted Hero!
Corrupted Hero getting dropped very low by Callista, but those movements that she was making, 3 AM getting caught by a death sentence, but nothing really going on that. That could have been something there. Bill getting dropped very low, a flash over the wall. Don't know what he's trying to do, but he's gonna get dropped so low. Callista. No, Plastic is actually gonna get stunned, maybe? No, that wouldn't go for the tower dive.
That was like I said, once again, a risky play by Duke, hanging around on that low health. Probably didn't expect a flash over the wall by Bill, but at the same time, it looked like he almost had it, but Bill just too on point, knowing how to catch out that Callista. There's a bit of an advantage here right now for Hawks, as the dragon's spawning up in 10 seconds. Plastic, if he dies, it's almost definitely a dragon, but is able to keep himself up. There is the devastating, the Onslaught of Shadows available for this dragon, but so many members of HKC are too low to contest this. It's going to go straight over to the Hawks, and like I said, they had to be worried if they didn't get a massive advantage right now. That's exactly what they're doing. They don't have too much to be worried about.
I liked that play, although I believe it's Hawks didn't have enough damage to make a full and proper pick on anyone in particular. They managed to whittle them down enough so that they could take that strength, or rather the weakness from the opposing team, to be able to take an objective like Dragon.
Master Go just using that ultimate to get back up to the farm in the top lane. I was a bit worried I was missing a team fight, but no. He's just getting up there to pick up that farm. You can see, quite a considerable lead on a few champions here. Master Goat quite ahead of Plastic, and we could see how that happened in the early game. He was just dominating that lane phase. But at the same time, Bill is farming so much more than it's not working right now. And you can tell that's just because it's not working, is paying a little more attention to the lanes, but at the same time, Bill needs to get to that late game Mundo stage, and with the Randuins and the Warmogs, that's pretty late game already, and Master Goat, without any mana, could be in a lot of trouble.
He's in a lot of trouble. Of course, he's already used his ultimate to get back up to lane. He just needs to get under the safety of his turret, but Plastic's just too tanky. And
oh my goodness.
Oh! I feel that was a bit of bad manners right there from Gragas. He might actually lose? No, of course not, because Sykes is there to help.
At the same time, though, you've got It's Not Working and Plastic fairly low on HP right now, and most of Hawks coming right up. Cupcake Man in position to throw out a good Glacial Bishop is going to hold on to it, as the rest of his team went a long way.
They did. It's so amazing to see how incredibly quick these teams are to join each other in the fray. Like, such teamwork, if only it was available in solo queue.
Oh, it can be if you hope for it. Oh, 3IM getting dropped pretty low there. That's the power of a late game Azir. You know, that was a few auto attacks. That's one right there. And, you know, imagine a few of those soldiers up in the middle of a team fight being completely unimpeded. It's going to be imperative for the Hawks to jump straight onto Jonty Wanty. And he's got so many tools to deal with it. You know, he's got his tank buddies, but at the same time, Empress Divide can really deny anyone jumping onto him because no one has any direct blinks apart from their flash. All of their mobility are dashes, and Empress Divide fully blocks that out. If he gets a good ultimate up, it can absolutely turn a team fight around while he is just shredding everyone down because despite a lot of tanks coming out here, Azir is probably the mage to deal with them.
And hello, New Zealand professional games. Well,
to be fair, happens in all of the Oceanic scenes. I imagine all the other qualifiers for the states in Australia had a few pauses as well. So, let's have a look at the situation right now. You can see Callisto moving a little bit more into the late game phase. He's finished off his Phantom Dancer as well, so it's going to be doing a lot of damage to those health stacking guys, but with so much armor on both Master Goat and Bill, it's going to be hard to shred through them, but it looks like he may be working towards that last Whisper, so once that comes out, we may not see a repeat of Bill taking down Duke anymore. So, oh my god. Okay, so it turns out Duke has run out of time at his internet cafe, so just give him a second to go up to the counter and throw a few dollars over to the guy working so that he can get back into the game and send his team maybe to victory. I mean, it's a 6,000 gold deficit for them right now, but they still do have hope. With good ultimates and good late game scaling, it's never going to be over for HKC right now, and you know, you can delay so much with the Azir passive as well. As you can see, you know, right now on the pause screen, hopefully, if you're on the same director camera that I am, you can see that Azir has risen a turret up in the mid lane, and you know, it's going to wave clear a fair amount. It's going to keep HKC from getting any more objectives. So they do have the tools to stay alive until the late game when they do get that power spike. And they've also got to worry about keeping dragons under control, because if Hawks get too many of those, especially if they get closer and closer to that 5th dragon stack, that's when HKC are going to start to panic. So they do need to get a little bit more vision control around that river, but at the same time they are keeping a lot of wards out of their own jungle around that side of the map, because despite the map presence that the Hawks do have, they don't have too many wards in the enemy jungle on the bottom side of the map anyway.
I really don't like Azir's passive. I feel it's one of the most scumbag passives that is in the game, possibly apart from Teemo. But I don't like it because it essentially turns one of your turrets into one of their turrets, and that's so powerful. To be able to do that, you change from having 3 turrets per lane to potentially 5 or 6. Like, it's just it makes it so much harder for a team to come back, accepting a good team fight, I guess.
Yeah. And you can see that, like I said before, it's going to help them survive up until the late game. Now, Ahri is starting to move to that late game Ahri stage. You know, not quite the burst assassin that we're used to ever since the removal of DFG, and a little bit of a rework to Ahri's kit. making her more of a kite mage, which is going to be very, very important in this game right now, because needs to be staying away from those important ultimates like the Onslaught of Shadows, the Explosive Cask, and even, maybe they're throwing Sykes in to throw a box around you. As long as you can kite away from all of those important ultimates. But at the same time, it puts a lot of pressure on him to not slip up and not fall into any of those ultimates, because if he does, he's pretty much dead. A lot of those things can basically, if any of those catch an Ari in a team fight, then Jonty Wanty, Duke, they're going to jump right on top of him, as long as he's not too far in the back line. So he's got the items to do a lot of damage. Not a huge amount of tankiness, especially because he did go for that Morellonomicon rather than the Athene's Unholy Grail. The more damage-oriented item, of course, that Morellonomicon, so is fairly vulnerable to getting caught out, but does have all the tools to avoid it, so needs to not slip up, but can provide a lot of the damage needed for HKC here. But at the same time, pick potential. But when more than half the enemy team are tanks, you've got to wonder how much picks are actually going to be worth.
I can't see what either team is going to be trying to achieve from here. Where do you think HKC is going to go from here?
HKC, they don't have to go anywhere. They've just got to get, like I said, a few wards in the river, a few wards in their own jungle. I mean, they've already got a lot of those. Try and control the vision from the Hawks, and then they can survive until the late game, be much stronger during team fights, contest the Baron, contest the Dragons a whole lot more, and they've got a huge amount of siege potential too. So, like I said, they don't have to do anything. They just got to keep things under control. Whereas HKC, they've really got to start getting more objectives. Yes, they're 2 turrets ahead, but there are more than 3 turrets on the map. They need to start closing things out. And here's exactly what they need to do, catching Duke out.
Duke is gonna pop just like that. I couldn't even play that. That was just over.
Yeah, and with pretty much no one in the bottom lane to defend this turret, Hawks are going to do exactly what you just heard me say. They're going to start getting more and more objectives, and getting this turret, once again, going to give them more access to the enemy jungle, which is going to be much easier for them to get ward control around the enemy jungle, get control of that dragon, which, oh no, Jonty Wanty!
Jonty Wanty getting popped by Ari. That happens, unfortunately, when you get caught by a chance.
Yeah, Plastic needs to get back as soon as he can. Sykes in a huge amount of trouble, forced to flash, but here we go.
Here we go. It's not working. There comes Plastic in with the ultimate. What an amazing explosive cast from Gragas. A nice ultimate coming down from Gragas. Yep. And, yeah, some stuff happening and lots of things.
Some stuff happening and lots of things. You heard it here first, folks. But as we can see from that, the fact that Duke was into that fight so late, Plastic took so long to get down there, things were just out of control already by the time HKC could even think to contest that fight. So brilliant pickup there by the Hawks there. They take out 2 turrets and an inhibitor. They took out a few kills as well. They're looking in brilliant position here. They've got so much map to move around. That bottom side of the map is just wide open to them. You can already see quite a lot of wards placed in the enemy jungle. Could go for a few more, especially the fact that Dragon up in 1 minute 20. They can move ahead and take that out pretty much easily. We saw them fall victim to quite a few of the, as I was saying, crucial ultimates coming out from HKC, but it didn't really change the fight around too much. So it could be the fact that 7,000 gold lead, actually quite enough now, and the fact that no one was able to catch out 31M or Corrupted Hero, they were just able to use the damage to take down the tanky front line from HKC because they're not tanky enough yet.
Players in this kind of tier of play, it amazes me that no matter where they go with their Oracle's trinket, they can their sweeping lens. They can tell. Just I don't know how. They've got some inner being inside them that says, "Hey, there's a ward in this bush." But they tend to always find it. I don't ever see them misuse their sweeper's lens.
Maybe one day we'll see it. But, as we can see, both top laners hanging out up there. Master Goat obviously with the advantage. In fact, basically forcing Sykes to come up, but this has been a big mistake for HKC as... Well, I mean, it was going to be a free dragon anyway to the Hawks. But now they know for absolute sure that there's going to be no contest here. They're going to take out dragon number 3, give them the movement speed advantage. And can they actually catch Sion this time? This guy's pretty much immortal.
That was a pretty good catch, though. Sion tried to ult away, and Hikarim dashed in front of him so that he hit him and, of course, stopped. This is a 4v1, and he's living through it. Not only that, but he's probably going to kill someone when he dies. Who do you think he's going to go for? Let's see.
Should go for the minions. But in any case, it's not the fact that he died that's important here. It's the fact that it took 4 people from HKC to deal with him, and that left the rest of the Hawks to just mow down that mid lane. They took down the inner turret, they took down the inhibitor turret, and they're still going for a fight.
Yeah, it's not working. It's going to get popped here. Cupcake Man is getting dropped somewhat low. Of course, 4 kills now in favor of HKC, I believe. Plastic is going very, very low. No, nothing doing. It's an ace for 1.
And HKC, they're going for a desperation play here. It is an open Baron, but they are leaving a lot of super minions in the base here. You can see Gragas, he's trying to take them out, will be able to keep them clear. But do they even have the health to take this Baron down? It's going down fairly well. Kalista does have the Ren to clear it, pretty much a smite. But here comes Master Goat. If they get the Baron, it's going to be at a cost.
That was well played. There comes the play from Sykes, and of course the Fate's Call coming out. So they will both survive, or at least they should do. Master Goat doesn't really have much more of a gap closer than that. Kalista using her mechanic skills quite well there to expand the gap even further. What a desperate play, though.
Yeah, and you know, they knew that they were going to get low doing it. They knew that Master Goat was nearby, but it's what they need to survive right now. They've lost an inhibitor in the bottom lane, there's an open inhibitor in the mid lane, but importantly, you know, getting the Baron not only gets them the gold, the buff, but it also relieves so much pressure. Now they don't have to worry about Hawks going for Baron while there's a big wave of super minions going past your bottom inhibitor. It's so much pressure that has now been taken off of HKC that they can hang back once again and just try and survive the space of the game. They are only 4,000 gold behind, so it's not huge. There's 2 dragons ahead for the Hawks right now, so they're still comfortably in the lead. There's no question about that. But it's allowing HKC to survive a little bit longer, and they're still not able to really defend these turrets, though.
No. Unfortunately, Sykes may get caught here. Nice position play there. Sion's ultimate coming out here. Hikarim trying to chase away, and he will get charmed by 3 AM. Corrupted Hero dropping down to Azir. Of course, that power coming out from his Sand Soldiers. Bill is also being dropped down very low, but they're so incredibly tanky. Master Goat still has 2,000 HP left before he drops. A missed charm there, unfortunately. Nice shield popping out. Nothing doing. Master Goat will drop. Ari and Braum getting chased down here as well. And oh, what a shame you can't get through that gate, Sion.
But, you know, nice pickup there by HKC. They were able to use their tools to use that big late game scaling champions. Jonty Wanty was pretty much uncontested over on the flank somehow. Duke, he was chased out of the fight by Bill, but Bill took a lot of damage doing so, and Duke was able to come back into the fight pretty much full health once Bill realized, I can't catch Kalista. It's just too hard. And so HKC managed to take that fight out pretty well. And at the same time, the inhibitor did respawn at a great time for them. So once again, no pressure. There's no Baron to worry about. There's no Dragon for a while. There's no inhibitors to worry about. These guys are feeling so much more comfortable than they were a few minutes ago.
Yeah, they are. Mostly for that Baron, and mostly for the fact that team morale is actually going up from the recovery of a tower in the mid lane.
Yeah, you can still see though that, you know, the map dominance is still on the side of the Hawks right now. And they are trying to take advantage of that by placing wards all through that jungle, denying vision from HKC. Just because, you know, you don't have vision, you go for so many more risky plays. So denying all that vision is so important. You can already see this one ward on this side of the map for HKC near their base, and while it might be the next target for the Hawks, I don't think it will be. Hawks definitely going to be looking at one of those open inhibitors, maybe leaving Master Goat split pushing up in the top lane to put a time limit on what HKC can do, force them to go into maybe an unfavorable fight. But Teleport's still a little while away, so we'll see what the strategy is going to be. Dragon up in less than a minute though. And
before that dragon comes up, I'd just like to mention, and you'll be happy with this information, that somebody's particular favourite team has got through into the semis. So whoever wins this game will be facing Imperium.
That is excellent. So if you guys are watching, well done, boys. But I'm going to focus on this game right now, as while last game that we cast was reasonably close. This game's pretty close too, because I feel like one more favourable team fight for HKC right now could easily put them ahead, almost. Maybe not in terms of gold, but in terms of scaling and late game champions. This Dragon's undoubtedly going to go to the Hawks here. I don't see any contest coming out from HKC. I mean, with Hecarim all the way over there, yes, the teleport's available, but going to need to come in now. But you can see a fight coming out. Sykes actually goes in.
Sykes does go in, and Bill getting dropped to reload, the Ignite being popped down. Duke getting attacked here from Corrupted Hero. A beautiful death sentence from Sykes here. Meanwhile, up here, 3am has been terrified and won't be able to do anything in the rest of that fight. Bill having to flash over the wall. Oh my goodness, what an incredible fight just over a dragon. Master Goat is so incredibly tanky. Duke may fall here, especially if Master Goat respawns. No, he's going to go for the nearest champion, which is in fact Sykes. What an amazing play. That was incredible.
We're going to see what HKC are going to go for right now. Dragon is available, but they do need to start getting some turrets down. You can see in the bottom lane, no turrets have been taken. But they are splitting up. They do have the power to just do both at once, because taking the Dragon fairly easily. Not a lot of wave clear left for the Hawks, because Bill's the only one alive who can really survive in that turret. But they take down the Dragon. They're pretty close to taking down that turret as well. Bill doing what he can. Actually manages to hold off the assault on the inhibitor turret, but it's quite low. If there's going to be a fight near there again, it's not going to provide too much. But I said one more favourable team fight, and they could be in the lead. That's definitely the case right now. While not ahead in gold, they are just destroying these team fights.
The thing about getting to this point in the game, although gold isn't really swinging much either side, we're giving like 900 gold either side. The biggest decider for a game at this point is death timers. You die, you're out of the game for 30 seconds, and there's a lot of things that can happen in that time.
And it did actually get pretty close in that last fight. If you paid attention to Duke during the fight, he actually took a full culling to the face over the Dragon Wall, and Corrupted Hero almost able to capitalize on it by jumping over the wall, almost taking Duke out, but Duke has his buddy Sykes nearby on hand to peel off for him. Did manage to take out the clutch kill, which basically won the fight for them there, because the damage from Duke coming out straight afterwards was able to keep them very ahead in the fight there. Now we're seeing the Baron vision control game coming along. One good hook by Sykes, though, it almost doesn't matter who it goes on to. That could be a good fight for them. And look at the zoning power as well by John Monty. You can't really deal with those sand soldiers there. None of the squishies can go near it. The tanks can barely survive it. And the Hawks looking like they're on the back foot now, with HKC well in the driver's seat.
It's a Baron dance, but it's slowly developed into something more. I can't really see what's going to happen. Sion is recalling right now. He does have his ultimate so that he can get back into the fight relatively quickly. But if HKC knew what was going on, they'd engage right now.
Yeah, and the fact that they've got the Righteous Glory advantage too, they have one, and there's not actually a Righteous Glory over on the Hawks. In fact, they opt for Banner of Command. That's an interesting choice. You can already see the buffed up minion there. We'll see how that turns out, but it just gets destroyed. So, yeah, no, like I was saying, the Righteous Glory advantage is over to HKC, so they've got all the tools they need to engage, and while there's quite a lot of disengage available for the Hawks, there's so much chasing potential for HKC that I don't think it's even really going to matter. And a hook comes out, it's not going to go in, but ultimate actually burned for Bill. The fight's begun!
the fight has begun, but so much disengage coming out from the HKC team. Bill is trying to chase in on this. A charm hitting Gragas, actually. He will fall. Bill right up there in the front line. He will drop. Unfortunately, he had no backup. I don't see this fight getting much further, but Master Goat is actually staying in the fight. He kind of wants to re-engage, but his team is saying, no, let's leave.
Yeah, and the fact that they don't have Bill up right now, even fights, as long as they've got the right members available, are going to be in the favor of HKC, because as long as they've got Azir and Duke, as long as there's no one to jump on them, then they're going to be absolutely fine. Sion is too busy dealing with the front line to get through to Duke and Jonty Wanty, and 3am also at the same time has to deal with the front line. This Baron attempt, though, is almost desperation, but it's dropping very, very quickly. But HKC, they know what's going on.
I can see this going in the favor of HKC. Corrupted Hero, beautiful death sentence actually coming in. They're still trying to focus down the Baron, and it goes over to the red team. So they do manage to secure it, but Master Go being dropped so very low. There's not a whole lot he'll be able to do. Perhaps take out Sykes, but that's about it. So they got the objective they were after.
They got Baron, but at what cost? They lost 3 of their team members, who are all going to be dead for at least 40 seconds right now, and this is going to be pretty hard to defend. Yes, they have the wave clear from 3-1M. God, I've given that guy a different name like every time I've said his name, but they have wave clear from him. They do have 0 pick potential. They don't have the damage. Oh, okay, there goes their wave clear. The turret goes down. This inhibitor's in a lot of trouble, but not as much trouble as Bill.
Bill is going to actually have to flash out of that Kalista using her massive range on the spear to drop him down and away from that fight. That was a nice play, though. They, instead of just taking one objective and saying, okay, sweet, let's go back, let's regroup, let's think what we can do now, they just rolled on and flowed from that. Baron, turret, inhib.
And now, it's going to be the Hawks with the inhibitor disadvantage. They've got super minions boring down that middle lane. And with 1 minute until the dragon, they need to keep that mid lane under control. Because if we see another dance around an objective, around that dragon, those minions can start pouring into the base, start tearing down those Nexus turrets. And this next dragon's going to be super important, because you give the movement speed buff over to HKC, there is no hope in winning another team fight, just because they're already having trouble catching Jonty Wanty, catching Duke. Give them 5% more movement speed, that's a lot of trouble. And Sykes takes a lot of damage, but he's got 30 seconds to go back, heal up if he wants to, but he should be healthy enough. We'll have to find out.
Yeah, he wanted so desperately to clear that award. Nice death sentence, although it was point blank range. Not much of that culling is going to hit, but it did actually get Jonty Wanty a fair bit. It was right on the very edge there. Minions are pouring down that mid lane. Dragon up in 5 seconds. The question is, will they contest or will they not? It looks like they want to, but I don't think they have the manpower.
I feel like HKC, you know, they need Jonty Wanty nearby to contest it. They should just abandon the dragon, move up that mid lane and start pressuring it down. Obviously they don't get the steal, but there's going to be a fight.
Whoa! Ari getting dropped down by Kalista Plastic, and it's not working. Right in the balls deep of that fight. Nice Azir ultimate trying to knock them back. Corrupted Hero, beautiful kiting technique there from him. Bill is getting stunned in the dragon pit and he will fall. Duke, some nice mechanics coming out from him. What an amazing fight, and I'm honestly thinking this could be GG.
This is absolutely the game. A minute until most players are up. Super minions pouring in the base. It's going to be a good game over to HKC here. And it was a good contest on the dragon. Obviously they got the fight. Brilliant Azir ultimates, but the fact that they were just able to survive until the late game, those monster late game carries, Kalista and Azir are some of the best at what they do. And no one was able to get on them. And they are going to be able to take out victory. They will be going, if you were right, going up against Imperium in the winners bracket, which will begin pretty shortly. Not too sure which game we're going to be casting next. We'll try and cast some different teams, guys. Did see a bit of that in the chat. Perhaps we're getting a few too much of University of Auckland. Soz, guys. But we'll have a look at the challenge. We'll find out which match to find to cast for you guys next. We'll be back very shortly. Don't go anywhere, guys. The OCC New Zealand qualifier will be back very shortly.